Waking up early sucks, and I told you to quit caffeine in last week's video, so how in the hell do I expect you to actually wake up early without your morning cup of joe? Well, if you're actually in the process of cutting out caffeine, then I would give it a couple weeks until you get used to it to actually start waking up early, because if you try to do multiple things at once, then you'll end up failing most of them. But waking up early might not be for you, and that's for you to decide. But since I started waking up early, I've been called a grandpa more times than I can count. But you know what? I take that as a compliment, because older people tend to have a good amount of money because their retirement accounts have built up, and they are often referred to as wise. And I would like to think that I'm wise. I mean, I don't have any money because it hasn't built up yet, but where was I going with this? Oh god, I'm already starting to forget things. Anyways, I've had times where I wake up at 4 in the morning, and sometimes where I've even woken up at 3 just because it allows me to get more done. I'm actually in the process of transitioning from 6 to 5 just because I want to get in an hour of language practice before I have to go and student teach. But I've used this time for many things in the past: reading, studying, working out. The beautiful thing about this time is that it's quiet and you can just use it for yourself. This time could be used to de-stress because you don't have to deal with what's going on in the world. Obviously, one of my favorite aspects of this is that it allows me to be much more productive and get more done because there's no one around to distract me, and not much is going on social media, so I'm much less tempted to check that. And my willpower is at the highest that it will be throughout the day. This means that it's much easier for you to actually work on the thing that you've been procrastinating on because you have the willpower to just get up and do it. How's it hanging, people? Nick Shea rocking with you today. Today we are talking how to wake up early, so let's go. One thing study after study has found is that those who wake up early are more disciplined than those who do not. And this is twofold. People that are already disciplined are more likely to wake up early, but it also helps make you more disciplined because, let's face it, most people don't want to actually wake up early in the morning, but by doing it day in and day out, it helps to strengthen your discipline. But how do you actually go about waking up early in the morning? Well, obviously your body is going to be used to waking up at 8, 9, 10, maybe even 12 o'clock, so it's gonna need a period to transition. And what you can do if you have plenty of time is slowly transition to waking up earlier and earlier by 10 to 15 minute increments each day until you reach your goal. But if you are in a little bit more of a rush, then what you want to do is first set the alarm for the time that you actually want to wake up tomorrow, and then just allow yourself to fall asleep naturally tonight. Now, you'll probably end up getting 6, 5, maybe even 4 hours of sleep, so you'll be plenty sleep deprived tomorrow. And while that's bad over the long run, it can be very beneficial in this particular scenario because by the time it's time for you to go to sleep tomorrow, you'll be extremely tired and ready to go to bed, so you'll go to bed earlier than you did tonight. And then eventually, probably just a couple of days in, you'll be going to bed in time to get 8 hours of sleep. After this transition, the most important aspect of waking up early is consistency. Consistency in when you wake up, but also consistency in when you go to sleep. Because if you don't get enough sleep at night, then you'll end up burning out and find yourself face first in your breakfast one morning.
Ugh, not again.
Now, unless you don't have a life like I do, then you probably have some things that you want to go out and do on the weekend that will disrupt this consistency.
Hey, sorry friends, it's my bedtime.
And my one piece of advice for that is maintain your social life, but If there are any days or nights that you don't have any plans on the weekend, try and make sure that you're still going to bed at the same time that you would throughout the week. And at a minimum, make sure you're going to bed and waking up at the same time every day throughout the week. Because the best way to not hate waking up early is to get used to it. For the most part, getting yourself to wake up early starts the night before, and probably the most important part of this preparation is setting a purpose for why you actually want to get up that morning. Now, you are going to have a general purpose for why you want to wake up early, whether that be studying, being more productive, working out, or just having some peace and quiet to yourself where the kids aren't arguing over who is which Power Ranger. Are Power Rangers still a big thing for kids? I don't know, but I was the best Red Power Ranger. What did you say? I was the Get Out. Where was I? Oh, right. So you are going to have a general purpose for waking up early, but each and every night you're going to figure out what you're going to do that next day. Because if you don't know what you're going to do the next day, or if you're just not going to do anything, then there's almost no reason for you to get up early, which makes it harder for you to actually get up early. And once you figure out what you're actually gonna do the next day, you should then prepare for it. If you're gonna go to the gym, then set out your gym clothes. If you're gonna read a book, then put out that book. And if you're gonna study, then put out your textbook, notebook, pens, or whatever you need to study with. The idea is to create less friction between you waking up and the tasks that you actually want to do, so that it makes it easier for you to actually get up and do it. The last thing you want to do the night before is set up a nighttime routine to kind of trigger your body into winding down to go to sleep. In this routine, I would highly recommend that you include some sort of electronic shut-off period, because electronics emit blue light, which prevents the secretion of melatonin, which is responsible for us getting sleepy, so it can delay the onset of sleep by a couple hours. And if you do have to work later into the night, then make sure you're using some sort of blue light filter. iPhones have night shift built in. You can use Flux on a computer and Twilight if you have an Android. I've honestly been pretty bad about this, but I am going to set an intention today to turn off my electronics 30 minutes before I go to bed at least, and then shower or read instead. As of right now, I only have one thing that is really a major part of my routine, and that's showering, but I do have these things. One second. But I do have these two handy dandy devices that whenever I'm using them, I know it's time to go to sleep, because I mean, I use the headphones for other things, but I listen to the same song every night whenever I'm going to sleep. So it kind of triggers to my body that it is time to go to sleep. But the more things that you incorporate into your nighttime routine, the stronger the connection your body will have with winding down to go to sleep. Now, I'm not saying to do 50 things for your nighttime routine. That would just be overdoing it and a little bit crazy. I would say 5 is probably a good number, as long as they aren't too time consuming. One thing I would do if I wasn't using my headphones to sleep is putting my phone away from the bed, so that whenever I wake up, I'd have to actually get up to turn off the alarm. This makes it much more likely that you will actually wake up if you do it, because it's super easy just to hit the snooze button and then keep on snoring if the phone's right next to you. But if you have to actually get up to turn off the alarm, then it's much less likely that you'll hop back in bed. If you are cutting out caffeine like I talked about in last week's video, then something I would definitely recommend that you do is putting a glass of water next to your phone the night before, so that you can chug it the morning afterwards, because our bodies get very dehydrated while we sleep. So by drinking that glass of water, it helps to restore our energy and wake us up, kind of as a replacement for coffee. But if you didn't drink coffee before, then I would still recommend doing this, because you get equally as dehydrated. One last thing that will help make waking up early much easier is changing your attitude about waking up early. So instead of dreading waking up early, anytime you have a negative thought about waking up, switch it out for something more positive. Yay! So instead of saying I have to wake up, say I get to wake up. This is where having a purpose for the next day can be very beneficial, because you can say I get to study Korean, or I get to exercise, which will make waking up early a much more positive experience. The last thing I want to say is that You don't actually have to wake up early. I mean, you can sleep until noon and still be productive. Because at the end of the day, quite literally, it doesn't matter what time you wake up. It matters what you do with the time that you are awake. So as long as you have something that's working for you, then stick with that. And if you do want to increase your discipline a little bit, then a good way to develop it is by taking a cold shower in the morning. And I know from personal experience that it's something that's super difficult to actually make yourself do, and it will definitely build up your discipline. That's all that Nick Shea has for you today. If you enjoyed this video, then pound that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and have a great day. Oh, right, I'll see you next week.